Hi, I'm Callie from CRK Training Blog. In this week's video, I'm going to answer a question that I've had a few people ask me, and I think it's a really good question, and I had to kind of give it some thought because there were so many things that popped into my head. But the question was, what do you know now that you wish that you knew earlier, or especially that you wish you knew when you were just starting out? And I think that this is such a good question because there's so many insights that we can get from thinking about this and also from asking the question to different people. So like I said, there were so many things that came into my head because I'm really grateful for everything that I've learned, and there's so much that I wish I would have known or I wish I would have done differently. But I narrowed it down to 3 things. And the first thing is I wish I would have paid more attention to balance, and not just my balance as a rider, because that one's kind of obvious, but the balance of the horse. So it really wasn't until recently, until like a few years ago, that I started to recognize how important the horse's balance is to the horse's health, to the balance of the rider, because if the horse is off balance, it can be a lot more difficult to stay balanced as a rider, and just how much riders even then influence the balance of the horse. So when I'm talking about the horse's balance, it just means, does the horse carry themselves confidently and with a smooth rhythm? Or does the horse feel like they're kind of flailing along or like they're falling in? And I used to think about things like a horse that would, fall in or drop his shoulder. I used to almost think of it as, where you've just got to put your leg on and, stop him from doing that. He's being naughty or he's just being lazy. But when I started really learning about, horses have to develop their body and they have to learn how to move just like we do if we're learning a new activity, if we're learning a new dance, if we're learning a new sport. We have to sometimes just learn how to carry our bodies and how to use ourselves better, and the same thing is true with the horses. The second thing that I wish I would have known before or learned earlier was actually more about how horses learn and how training really works, and psychology, how our brains work. And there's ways that our brains work for humans and for horses that are actually really similar. And I think that I've had so much more patience and so much more understanding of the horses when I learned just the simple fundamentals or simple principles of psychology and of learning theory, and how behavior is really shaped and changed, and why we do the things we do, why horses act the way they do. It really just helps a person to be a lot more patient when they know these things. So that's the second thing that I really wish I would have known or would have studied earlier. And the third thing is actually, I wish that I would have had more confidence maybe, or more kind of an understanding that it's okay to do things differently and to kind of make your own way. So there was actually a point in my life when I was kind of at that like high school, getting ready to go to college age, that you're thinking about your career. And I had always thought, well, I guess I won't be a professional rider because professional riders have to compete all the time. They have to go to horse shows all the time. They have to have clients that are competitive, and they have to be at horse shows every weekend. That was just kind of the thought pattern that I had in my head, that I thought this is what you're going to have to do if you're a professional rider. And it was interesting because if I would have known then what I'm doing now, which is that I can work with problem horses, I can work with new riders that don't necessarily have an interest in being extremely competitive. They just want to enjoy the process of learning. They just want to have fun with their horse. And honestly, that's the same thing that I want to do too. And if I would have known that back then, that it's okay to be different, it's okay to kind of reinvent a career. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as what everyone else is doing with it. I would have started on this path a lot sooner, and I would have just probably learned all those other 2 things, those first 2 things, even sooner, because I would have been more focused earlier. So those were the biggest 3 things. Like I said, there were a ton of them that I wish I would have known or would have done differently with my horses and my riding. But now I'd actually like to turn it over to you, and I would love to hear from you. So leave a comment and tell me, what is one thing or several things, if they come to you, that you wish you would have known, whether you started years ago, or whether you started even a month ago and there's something that you know now and it would have been great when you were starting out. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. I look forward to seeing you there. And as always, if you're watching this video anywhere other than crktrainingblog.com, go there now. That's always where the best comments and the best conversation happen. So I'll see you there in the comments.